All right. I think we're
Back and running.
check Facebook here. Says everybody's up.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 97. Coming up on 100. We should do something exciting for 100. This is the 034 Motorsport live Q&A. Platinum hour. 2 guys and 2 cups.
Fair enough.
We still don't have an official name, but
Let's not go with that one.
the official name is, there's no official name.
The unofficially official.
And so this is a Q&A session. Feel free to ask us anything you'd like. Certainly anything related to 034 Motorsport products and services, which is mostly what we get. My name is Javad Shadzi. This is Nate Stewart. I'm the CEO of the company, and Nate's our head of engineering. And we like to take a no BS approach to answering these questions. And things got a little spicy last week when we were talking about the EPA, but I stand behind everything I said.
Yeah.
I went back and listened to it a few times. I probably shouldn't have said the Biden thing was BS. It is BS, but I should have probably tried to be more like diplomatic. Like maybe if I was brought in as an expert on NPR, I should have just talked more calmly about it.
The factual.
But I just hate the irrational blaming stuff that people do, especially when so much is at stake. So, anyways, we got some questions lining up, and we have some questions from last week we can jump on as well. And we're excited to announce the pending release of our B9 RS5 2.9T Stage 2 TCU tune.
Yep.
Which we will talk about a little bit more a little bit later in the show or the episode. And this is a TCU tune that greatly improves the performance and shifting of the engine and transmission, and substantially increases the acceleration of the vehicle. And I had the pleasure of taking it out last week for a couple nights, and it's ridiculous. I've driven a lot of fast cars, but the car that we have here is it's Stage 1 E85 with Stage 2 TCU and a Wagner intercooler and a high pressure fuel pump
And an intake.
and our intake.
Yeah, that's it.
Our X34 intakes. Does it have any other intake components other than the intake? It doesn't have
No, just our intake.
our throttle body on there. So I mean, we're talking about I don't know, $3,000-$4,000 worth of parts.
Probably more like 5. It's the full intercooler.
How much is the intercooler?
It's honestly like $3,500.
Oh, it's not.
It's full intercooler.
So a $3,500 intercooler kit.
Let me double check.
$1,000 tune, a $600 TCU tune, $1,000 fuel pump, and $1,000 intake.
No, that's just yeah, 30. Yeah, 30.
So it's about, let's just say $5-6 grand worth of parts, including the hammer. It's gonna be one of the fastest cars on the road. It's probably faster than any production car. I don't know about like a Tesla Plaid or something like that.
Oh, for like a mere mortal car.
Yeah, but there was like a guy in a Model S dual motor performance that like has probably never destroyed anyone on the street, and he did not do very, very well.
He's never been destroyed by anyone.
No, I'm sure he hadn't, because these Tesla guys driving Teslas are usually under the impression, they have like a Dunning-Kruger that they're the fastest cars on the road, but a really well-tuned ICE motor can still make
no slouch.
Yeah. So it's mind-boggling fast, and again, I can verify that it's about as fast or faster than the absolute fastest car you could imagine from the factory of anything. Not who knows what.
We're not talking like Bugattis or anything like that. We're talking like things that you can most.
Well, we're talking about McLarens and
like average, an average supercar.
Yeah. It was back massaging you guys.
We're talking a supercar here.
So we'll talk a little about that. Let's jump into some of these questions. B9A4 tuning update. We have nothing new. We have been focusing on 3.0T and 2.9T tuning, and also B8 stuff. we don't have any dates around that other than it is something we would like to do. B9 S4 anti-launch control or advanced launch control. Something we're going to do. Have we made any specific progress or any?
Nothing in the specific. I mean, other than we're I am working with the guys. We're working on the best method to make it basically a similar code base and similar strategies between the 3 liter and the 2.9 liter because they do have a little different torque modeling and whatnot in there. So we are working on it. I don't have anything specific release wise though.
Definitely something we'll be doing.
Yeah, and it's been coming up more and more. It's definitely needed. You know, if you want to be able to just mash the gas, mash the brake, and have an optimized launch, being able to control how much torque you're leaving the line with is definitely critical.
TTE710 B9 3.0T release dates very soon. We don't have a date yet.
The little tease video we put up got some people.
No, that's the idea. Yeah, we're teasing it because we want to make sure anyone out there knows that we are coming out with this soon. You're probably going to see some other options coming to market, and we want to make sure you know that the 0341 is going to be worth waiting for.
And it shows we're not, sitting here trying to rush it either. We want to make sure it's ironed out and rock solid vehicles.
Nothing specific on pricing other than the fact that it will be reasonably priced, and we will have an excellent upgrade path for customers who currently own Stage 1, Stage 2 software. So if you currently own 034 Dynamic Plus Stage 1 for your B9 3.0T, there will be a special upgrade price. Now, it's not going to be the difference between Stage 1 and Stage 3 because Stage 3 is a whole new tune. It's a whole different product. We offer that type of upgrade path when you're going from Stage 1 to 2, for example, because those are just incremental, marginal.
Yeah, or like the old the B8 S4, where it was very incremental from 1 to 2 to 2 plus. It's same charger, same.
Yeah, so we charge them. This is a whole different tune, a whole different product. So, but we are going to offer a very good upgrade deal for current 034 customers, and then we will offer kind of different packages where you can keep Stage 1, 2, and go to 3, so you'll have access to all those tunes moving forward, or that you'll trade in your 1 and 2, and you'll basically lose access to 1 and 2, and you'll only have access to Stage 3.
Oh, just I didn't know we were talking.
Yeah, cool. And I think that's one way where we can add value or make it cheaper or whatever. So
yeah, it gets trickier when you're doing parts like these because you can't run a Stage 1 or a Stage 2 file once you have the Stage 3 hardware on the car. So it is a very different, But
you may want to go
setup.
You may want to go back for the winter or whatever, and if you want to have access. Otherwise,
you will always be able to flash back to stock. So you remove whatever hardware you've got on there, and you go back.
Someone's asking about will S34 intakes be shipping today? I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm not sure where that question's coming from. Or was there a quoted date? Or even with S34. So I can't answer. It's possible. I don't know. Typically, the way we ask customers to deal with this is email contact@034motorsport.com, and they will give you current status within usually about a day. Any updates on Stage 2 TC for S5 B9.5? I didn't know it was different than the B9.
It is. They changed, unfortunately, quite a lot on that TCU. It is on our radar. We're trying to get it pushed out as quick as we can. But no, I don't have a timeline right now.
Have you guys found the mechanical weak link in the B9 S4 platform while using the hybrid turbo engine trans driveline? We haven't found any yet.
Not yet. We've been beating the crap out of it, both on the RS5 and the S4 are very similar drivelines. And to date, we're in a undamaged state of everything.
Yeah, I think this is generally across the board, although someone contacted us in the past week and said they broke an axle. It sounded like a front axle. So it's possible that could become a thing, in which case, upgrade to axle shafts would probably solve that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of factors when it comes to axle braking beyond the tune. Obviously, you need a certain amount of torque to do it, but the road surface, what tires you're running, your suspension setup, how you launched, what you did with the steering wheel. There's a lot of factors other than the tune. So I think to go out there and say that one particular tune breaks axles more than another isn't logical. But at some point, it's just the fact of the matter. That's physics.
Yeah.
Axles do start breaking, and these cars are producing a shit ton of.
It's incredible, and we're able to get away with what we are so far in mass. Cause, there's a lot of guys out there hammering on these things.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
it's unheard of years in 5, 10, whatever.
We'll post more information about this, but my 80 TQ, which was braking axles like on every other launch, was trapping about 4 miles an hour faster than our RS5. So, and this RS5 is totally streetable daily driver, like pretty much factory
right. You wouldn't even notice. So for the most part, until you get on it.
This isn't a problem or a fault with anything. If it starts happening, it's because of the unbelievable performance. These cars are designed to deal with half the torque stock than they are now. So it stands to reason that at double the torque, you can break an axle here and there. But I still don't think it's going to be a widespread problem. It could be that the guy launched and the road surface changed and it loaded that tire up substantially more than it ever would be on a flat surface, and then it just snapped. My guess is it's probably a freak incident.
Yeah, and it's to that point too. Like, there's so many weird outliers that'll shock load the driveline components that you may not expect. We used to go through transmissions a lot on some of the older cars only on racetracks, because you'd be under like full load in a corner and you hit the inner curbing, the berm on the inside of the corner. And you would kind of just pop that wheel just a tiny little bit, it'd lose a little bit of traction, and then just bite again when it came back down on the road surface.
Yeah.
And then you're like, third gear, full boost or whatever it is. And that just real quick unload, reload would just grenade the transmission. It was something you could repeat anytime of the day.
If you ever want to, if you're bored or you're fishing and you want to do an example of this, get some fishing line, maybe make it easier on yourself and get some like 4 or 6 pin test line.
Okay.
Get about 2 feet and wrap enough around your hands so you have about a foot between your hands. And you can pull that line as hard as you can, absolutely as hard as you can, and you will not be able to break it.
Like slice through your hands first.
And then relax it and just snap it, and it'll break instantly, effortlessly. And this is the same thing that happens to your axle.
That inertia is it's no joke.
Things break not because of the amount of force that's applied to them, but they break because of the amount of force over time. And once the amount of force over a certain amount of time gets to a certain level, then it will break. I mean, you can do the same thing with your fist in someone's face. You push your fist against their face as hard as you can, and then you can just pop them with much less energy, with much less force. But that transfer,
it's a tougher one to
do a lot more damage.
Legally practice.
Make sure to have them sign a waiver before you do that. B8 3.0T port injection fuel.
We go over this every week.
Yeah, 85 updates.
At this time, port injection is very difficult to do correctly in a way that's going to drive nicely for you without very tightly integrating into the ECU control. We haven't currently seen basically the benefit yet of going full E85. I mean, we've tested full E85 with the fueling components we have on hand here. Yeah, I mean, the E40 is getting you
it's
damn near almost
all the power difference.
So, that little extra bit you get from E85 just doesn't make sense to us yet for the amount of development work it's going to take. It's going to cost you guys.
Any lightweight 17-inch drag wheels in the works for 66.6 millimeter hub boards? We do not.
17's.
I mean, I don't know how big of a market there is for that.
18 is more.
Yeah, 18's a good.
We're definitely
for track.
We definitely do 18-inch stuff.
Not for 66.
And I don't.
No, but like for the.
Yeah, I don't know that 17 would clear the stock brakes like at all. I don't.
No, I think if you want to do a 17-inch setup, you need to contact a company that makes custom wheels. You probably go the route that everyone else who's done that.
Yeah, you got to drop down to some smaller ranks and do a bunch more work.
But if we thought we could sell, 50 sets a year, we'd probably do it. But I don't think there's that many people.
Yeah, that's a pretty hardcore switch.
When running a high pressure fuel pump for B9 3.0T, will there be an update needed to the software?
Yes. We have a pending release on the stage 1 and 2. It'll be the 1 Plus and the 2 Plus, which will accommodate a high pressure fuel pump upgrade as well.
Yeah, I mean, unless we specifically state you do not want to upgrade your high pressure fuel pump without changing the software.
Yeah.
And do you want to talk a little bit about why that is?
Well, I mean,
what do we do in the software?
I mean, honestly, to be frank, usually you can get away with it. The ECU is not going to know that it's upgraded, so there's a little bit of a balance there. You can hit, basically their mathematical limits, but the ECU is going to know, like, hey, I can't produce that much fuel that you're asking for. You're only limited to this much anyway. So you hit a lot of limits like that. So putting the pump in doesn't necessarily get you a bunch more fuel. But if you're right at the edge, or maybe you're not quite making enough low pressure pump, it can sometimes make up for it. But in general, it's all modeled. We tell the ECU exactly what, size pump we're expecting to be there. And we'll adjust the fueling pressure and flow requests accordingly. Just putting a pump in isn't generally going to get you, more fuel everywhere.
Correct. Thank you. How do you feel about people using water meth injection on the B9 Stage 3? We've talked about water meth injection before. Our position hasn't changed. It's not something that generally or ever that we've incorporated into any of our tuning. Our goal is always to produce tuning packages that run a spec fuel with a certain type, certain hardware specification, and you just have to fill the tank. You don't have to, worry about your water meth running out. And then just the effectiveness of water meth, I think, is typically overstated.
Yeah, and it gets to the point where you end up running so much meth or so much extra medium that you then have to start adjusting the tune to accommodate it for it to run correctly. So then now you're relying on that water meth. And honestly, I mean, I don't know that I've seen a single system yet that's been able to be like kind of an install and forget it setup other than just adding water. They all end up leaking. They all end up with unknown flow rates or injector nozzle clogging or, all these other issues that are really tough to keep an eye on all the time unless you go for like this ridiculously overbuilt, over-censored, well, not over-censored, it ends up being the amount of sensors you need, but this very monitored, censored system. And it's still outside of the ECU's control entirely, and they're still very crude on the amount of, water and meth that they're injecting. So we don't tend to rely on or recommend that for basically anything.
Yeah, I think a lot of people run it because it's a cool modification they can do, and they don't really test it, so they don't really know for sure if it's doing anything. The meth alone can increase your octane, so there's that. But a lot of times, water is not combustible, and water does not actually help produce more power once it's in the combustion chamber.
Yeah, it's there to just drop basically the knock.
So usually what we've seen is the more water you inject into the motor, the less power it makes. And it actually makes the most power when you inject no water. The idea behind water injection is that when the water goes into the combustion chamber and it's converted from liquid to steam or to a vapor form, that uses heat energy. And so it lowers the air temperature effectively by making the air in the combustion chamber more dense. So if you get more air, you can add more fuel, and the water is the sacrificial thermal contributor to adding more air. But again, the solution for that is the right type of intercooler, not the water. And then the other thing we've talked about is what the water will do is it will, depending on the motor, but in older motors, that's what happens, is the water goes on the air temp sensor.
I was just going to talk about that.
And then the water evaporates off the temp sensor, which lowers the ECU's calculated air temp, which then the ECU says, oh, the air temp went down. Well, it hasn't.
Yeah, it's just
But the ECU thinks it has. So it gives more timing. Of course, you're going to make more power. And so I think a lot of the times people see the benefits of water method has been that it's essentially like what tuning boxes do, is it's tricking the ECU into giving more timing. The ECU should not be giving more timing, and you're now probably detonating or threatening to.
Yeah, if you're trying to combat, a knocking or a noisy motor or noisy, knock prone fuel with water meth, and then you end up spraying that water meth across an air temp sensor, you just usually more than negated the benefit of having the water meth in that charger.
I think if water meth was so great, or water injection, you'd see it on factory cars.
Is one factory car that has that I know of.
What?
The M4. One of the M4s, I believe.
Yes.
What?
M4CS is a water injection.
Current model or unless you?
So GTS.
It's like one model.
So if you add it,
but that's a fully modeled.
It's controlled
VM level.
This is
implementation. So
there's juice cooler or whatever people are running.
There's like a car
and that's fully engineered to run without it.
Right. Yes. It's fail safe. Yeah, it's fail safe.
I'd like to understand more about it. I actually did not know about that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of write ups that were done when it came out because
it would be interesting to see if anyone's actually dynoed with and without it and see if they can reproduce.
Well, I'm sure the ECU goes because it's monitored. The ECU is probably running in a different state with it. So.
Of course, yeah. But that would be a good experiment.
Sure.
Of a really good implementation of this.
Yep.
Because it's possible that, from what we've seen, the water meth implementations are so poor that they just don't work.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like to make them work really well, you have to map the ECU side of things to expect that fuel medium there. And it's usually, such a simple implementation. It's like X amount of boost equals X amount of water meth getting injected.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with RPM. RPM is almost never a factor in these. So you've got this, hump of fuel and air delivery that has nothing to do with RPM. You've got to kind of work around an ECU. The M4 systems, I'm going to assume, is much more advanced than that.
Someone's asking, this is a hard-hitting question. Who's the best golfer at 034? Well, I'll say it's definitely not me because I've only played golf once and I was so drunk, I don't think I actually played golf.
Yeah. I used to play a lot in high school.
Probably.
No, I would say I haven't played out in years. Yeah, there's other people that golf here.
Sam and Murph.
Yeah. Oh, Murph. Rest in peace. He's no longer here. But
Sam. No, I actually been meaning to get in touch with Sam. I need to. I haven't been out because I don't have anybody
to go play with. Mark.
Mark and I would go out.
Is Mark? Are you better than Mark?
Yeah.
We went to a top golf.
Mark went and became.
But that's not playing golf.
No. Mark went.
It'd probably be pretty good at that. Like swinging hard.
No, it's pretty well modeled. You're actually.
What do you mean?
Top golf?
Yeah.
It's a fully modeled strike. Like you're pretty accurately.
It's not real golf? It's not real?
It's real. No, it's a ball. You're hitting it with a.
I've done stuff like that. I can hit the ball really far.
No. This is like everything. This is pretty accurate.
It was top golf.
You aim.
You aim?
Yeah. Oh, it's fully simulated course.
I can hit it far. I don't know if I could aim it.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to play more. I've got.
I have a very innovative swing. It's more like the baseball swing where you step
like run up to it and just.
No, it's kind of a. It goes pretty far though. I don't know what was that. Adam Sandler that.
Yeah. Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. It's similar to that.
Your home.
But I don't think we have a good idea. But I would say. Of the people here, Nate's definitely
standing in front of you
far better than I am. Javad, do I get a cool plaque when I break the 3.0 TFSI record on Thursday?
Sure.
So there's a note here that says you ran a 10.2 at 1:30 this weekend.
Yeah, he put a video up.
And your B8 S5 running our software. Yes, I will make you a beautiful wooden plaque if you break it, and I will laminate a picture of my face or something onto it.
Stop saying you're jealous.
Yeah,
he can go buy B8.
Stav did something great, and which is why I sent him that. And he determined that 5 was bigger than 6, which just doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, sorry, 6 was better.
I see here.
which shows that he's just good at basic math, I guess. I don't know. Anything more planned for the B8 S4?
Oh,
yes. Anything we want to talk about? I mean, we're not done with the software.
We've got some really cool parts right on the other side of this wall waiting to go on. So there's definitely some stuff happening, but I don't think we can talk about it yet.
Yeah. No, there is more coming. B8 S4 is a huge part of our business currently, and we're not done with that. Will all hybrid turbophiles for the B9 3.2 require a high pressure fuel pump or only E85? Yes, both.
Yeah.
So all stage 3 tunes will require, well, they don't require 85, but we will do 85. But you'll definitely need a high pressure fuel pump because at that point, you are demanding a lot more fuel, or the turbo is demanding a lot more fuel from the system. A non high pressure fuel pump stage 3 tune would kind of be pointless because it would just be fuel limit. It wouldn't make much more power than the stock turbo. What injectors are we running for E85 on B9 3.2 with TTE710?
We were running the very specialized stock injectors.
Stock injectors with a high pressure fuel pump. Bundle for B8 S4 ECU tuning.
Is that not bundled already?
ECU TC tuning.
That is not.
We should bundle that.
We have the, but we don't have a,
I'd say let's bundle that. I don't know why.
because there's multiple.
There's VF or
VF.
DL.
From a web page setup.
Let's
can-
talk about it though.
Yeah.
B9 hybrid turbo optimization inlet ETA. It's coming and it's really nice.
It's being tested
It's really cool.
right now.
Or
well, it's in use right now.
We do have it being used and tested. It did produce. It is a part that will produce more power. The factory piece is very flow limited, and frankly, any pieces that fit the factory will be flow limited. So this piece is substantially bigger than the factory piece. It literally fills the entire area, and we're excited to bring that to market. It's going to be a little bit probably, maybe this summer.
By the time all the casting is
by the time
tested, all the time.
And then something that we're working on that I'll mention is that, so we have our current X34 setup, and we are working on like 1,000 horsepower rated 3.0 T, 2.9 T intake solution. So keep an eye out for that for the future, which will really be something for the future. Our current intake will still support all kinds of big power
it's
make.
Not out of steam yet.
But there is some power left on the table, kind of above the 700-800 horsepower range and higher, and we anticipate making 1,000 horsepower with these motors. And so we will have an intake at some point to support that. How does the S4 B9 handle track days versus, say, an RS3 or a Golf?
Completely different jet. I mean, they're very different vehicles to drive on track. That's a tough one to answer. And the RS3 and Golf are also very different, even though they're much similar platform.
Well, it depends. Are you talking about a front-wheel drive Golf versus?
That's true. Yeah, or Golf R.
But yeah, the B9 handles extremely well. It's a very fast, smooth handling car. It has a much longer wheelbase, and I think that's probably what separates it.
It is much more. I don't even know if I want to say compliant, but much more refined on track.
Yeah, and you don't need to throw it around or toss it around or get it as loose as much. I think in the past, Gary has said that it's his favorite Audi to drive on track, and not including R8s and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it's a great track car. It's a great handling car.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not something you want on like really tight courses.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
It is a longer wheelbase car, but on higher speed, faster, smoother, bigger corners, it has a good advantage there. And then I think just the fully independent, suspension at every corner and the multi-link suspension really helps as well.
Yeah, I feel like, from a driveline standpoint too, it's much more throttle steerable than the MQB chassis, where you've got a vector diff working for you on the rear.
Yeah.
So it is more, I guess you'd say like a traditional all-wheel drive car in that respect.
Would you ever consider adding a feature to the TCU tune for B9, like holding both paddles down to engage neutral?
No, that's a very non. I don't know how to word this. That would take a lot of effort to get it done correctly. Where something like that's not implemented at an OEM level, you're going to have to do a lot of work inside the TCU to get around that. Never mind the fact that on most of the Audis that I've ever seen, actually all of that I've ever seen, you cannot pull both paddles and have that signal get to even get to the ECU or TCU. The steering wheel is just like, oh, that's invalid, and it won't send the message. So there's just a huge number of core hurdles that you'd be running into for a fairly useless feature.
Why would anyone want that?
Because the Corvette CG does
free revving next to your friend on the highway.
Yeah, free revving. You can just tip it. Have movement.
By upshifting again?
The old
You hold them, and then you wait.
I believe the old Porsche
really?
PDK cars can do that too.
PDK cars and the new CA Corvette.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no, there's a huge amount of hurdles that you wouldn't expect. Simple things down to like those buttons in the steering wheel. Those don't have wires that go to the ECU. Those go to a little LIN bus controller in the steering wheel that has a little data stream that goes then to another controller, and then from there
you'd have to reprogram everything.
You'd have to start at the steering wheel and work your way through the system to even get the signals to there, and then it gets pretty deep.
What is the rough order of magnitude for number of users in each community? I.e., how many folks do you have on B9 3.0 tunes, B2.5T, etc.? I mean, without getting into real specifics, and this isn't necessarily representative of the community or the number of cars on the road, although it might correlate pretty well. But for us, by far, we have the most 3.0 TFSI supercharged B8.
Yeah.
B8.5, because we've been selling that tune for 5 years or something like that. But the B9 3.0 T is quickly catching us. We have a lot of users in those two, and I'd say that's the majority of all of our tuning users are in those two groups. But we're talking about thousands of users here, so we have lots of MQB,
quite a few MQB platform vehicles. 2 liter, 2.5. 2.5 is much smaller. It's just a much smaller market.
But when you look at the market, the S cars, specifically the S4, is a very, very big market. It always has been.
Yeah, it's kind of like built to be a tuner's car.
It is.
You've got a huge, capable powertrain.
It's a performance car.
Thankfully, now that they've gone back to power adders, at least on the motor.
Yeah. It's a performance car, but it's not all the performance that the car can produce, unlike the RS, which is closer to the max, being maxed out. So there's a good amount of headroom for upgrades. They're less expensive to get into, and Audi just sells a lot of S4s.
But there's still quite a bit of room in the RS.
There's plenty of room in the RS cars as well, but there's less of those.
Yes, there's far fewer RS models out there.
I don't know for sure, but I'd guess that there's maybe a 10th or a 20th the number of RS5s versus S4s on them. So it's much smaller group of cars. But the RS cars get modded at a much higher rate. So if you look at all the S4s, maybe 10% of them get modified. But if you look at all the RS5s, probably 50%. And then you go to something like the RS3.
Same with the
TTRS.
TTRS RS3, it's like 98.
It's about as close to 100% as you can get. So, and then you go to the A4s, and it's maybe 1% of them are modded. But there's so many A4s. There's lots of them. So you kind of have to look at the size of the market, and then you look at the user base and who's incentivized to actually.
GTI
is huge.
Single digit modification rate, but there's so many of them.
Is there a way to upgrade fuel injectors in the B8 S4 platform without being unreliable and uncontrollable as the MPX? Some tuners say Golf R injectors are rated.
Yeah, there are other injectors.
This is a good solution if
It's
it's available, and
yeah,
this is something we're looking into.
it is something we're working on. It does obviously need 100% proper calibration for those injectors.
Yes.
Changing out an MPI or a direct injector, you've got to have the calibration for that injector.
I mean, any injector. You can't even change a carb jet without.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the olden days, there were multiple manufacturers sometimes of port injectors that sort of worked well enough, but
not that flowed more. And the whole point is
correct. I'm sorry. Yes, correct. For anything that flowed. Yeah. But even going from like the same flow rated DI injector to another one, you're almost one that's gonna.
Sure.
Sorry. Yeah, I should have front loaded that better.
Yeah. No. Because the profile of how the injector injects fuel.
There's that. The pintle patterns are almost always different. Mm-hmm. The DI injectors are generally designed for a application, and they've got a very specific spray pattern. Yeah. So.
R8 exhaust system release updates. Unfortunately, we don't. This has been frustrating for me. But these are these have been delayed just due to, I don't know,
all of the things.
It's not COVID, but pandemic, just the clusterfuck of the last 2 years, supply chain issues. We are still working on them, and we want to bring them to market, but they've just taken very, very long time. We will keep pushing forward on them. We will update as we have more information. TTE810 ETA for 3.0T. This is a new turbo on the market. We have one coming.
Yeah, availability is not great on these yet.
The 710 is what 710 is what's been available and readily available, and I think it's what most people have. There's a lot of excitement about the 810 because it's 100 more, but the 710 is very powerful, and it's going to give you faster response than the 810.
Yeah, and
they'll make a lot of power.
They're also doing a 710 to 810 upgrade program.
Oh, that serves
correctly too.
You've heard about that?
It's on their website. Yeah. So
that could be a good option. But our goal is to have 710s and 810s in stock, ready to ship for you guys.
Because they are tough to get, and there's usually a huge lead time.
So I think right now the lead time is 6 weeks.
Yeah, we're fronting a good chunk of cash to help that situation for you guys.
Will rest of the world TTE710 maps be available at launch?
Yep.
Assuming you're in the rest of the world that's compatible.
Everything, yeah. So far, everything. Yeah. I don't. I gotta look. I don't think there's any GPF 3 liters. I think they went to.
I think so. That's what.
There's 2.9. UK, the S4 at least went to a diesel. They went to the B9.5, which would have been diesel. I'll have to look at that one specifically.
Check it out, but that was the feedback I got. Yeah. I'm warping my discs on the back of my Golf GTE. Will the performance pack brakes in your discs fix this problem?
Press.
Yeah, I'd like to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is this person still here? If this is on track, I mean, our rotors do have better cooling. I don't know, the GTE, are those vented in the back?
Those might be solids.
What is a GTE? Is that a US model?
No, that's Europe. So it's the A3 e-tron drivetrain, but in a GTI. So 210 horsepower, 1.4 liter.
Yeah, it really depends how you're driving this thing. I mean, if you're like on track with it and it's doing this, or if you're really spirited driving, and maybe that your ASR, your traction control stuff might be grabbing a lot of rear brake just to help correct the attitude of the car. But rear brakes are almost never an issue with these things.
I would say, our discs will fare better, whether will unequivocally solve your problem that we don't know what's causing. We can't really say for sure.
Well, I mean, to put it in perspective, the VLN TTRS, we don't picture that here, had small, honestly, I think they were GTE rear rotors. They were solid, like tiny little rotors in the back. So usually rear braking isn't the problem with these.
I think what you said, though, is on the right track.
Yeah, I think if they are getting warped, it's probably ASR.
If you're engaging traction control or stability control, then it is very hard on the brakes. Please make ALC for TCU on DAZA if possible. Something we've been working on.
Yeah.
There's a couple more questions about DAZA here. Yeah, DAZA's one of these markets where it's a real shiny object. It's like that really hot girl at the club that everybody wants to get with, but she's fucking crazy.
I wonder if it's going to go on the hot crazy.
It's the hot crazy
paradigm.
scale. I think that's a really good video online if you want. I'm not saying the customers themselves, but
it's clarifying that.
in some cases, yes. But
that's every market though.
It's a small market, and it's kind of the upper echelon of Audi performance, but the user base is very. I'm trying to think of the right word. I mean, it's like the user base is in harmony and step with each other as far as what mods are accepted and what aren't, and they will move around. So I mean, 2 years ago there was one company where you could only run that tuning. It was the best tuning in the world, and literally something happened, and within the span of 1 week, everyone got rid of those tunes. Like literally just threw it in the trash and went and upgraded to a new one that wasn't really any better or different, but it was like the new one that you have to have.
Yeah, and now that one's not the one to have anymore. It's on to the next thing. So it's
and because of that, a lot of times, which products are actually good, which products are that actually perform is secondary to what is the group, hive mind decided.
Yeah,
a perfect example of this is we released a really nice X34 intake for the DAZA, and it, independent shops that have often been looked to as being the best at DAZA running in performance quarter miles verified that our intake was as good as any on the market and possibly better in many cases. But some guy at one point said that he ran our intake for a week and his wastegate duty cycle went up, so that means our intake flows less than stock.
Down. So you got less boost, which meant his
his wastegate duty cycle went down.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. His wastegate duty cycle wasn't the thing that he thought it should be, and that proved that our intake flowed less than stock. And 2 weeks later, everybody in the DAZA community said that our intake flows less than stock, and our intake flows substantially more than stock. We proved it. We have all the data on our website. So, as a result, we just haven't sold that much DAZA tuning, and it's just we have a car here with a hybrid on it, but I mean we can't put all this work into something that we're going to sell 3 or 5 of because it's not the stylish thing that everyone thinks it should be. So
yeah, and that market is so driven by like quarter mile records, this and that, and they've
which is fine.
It's fine, but it's not often framed in a realistic way.
Well, and a lot of that's been fake and disingenuous too. There's an intake that the guy that was running the fastest ever was cutting holes in the bottom of it because the intake was so shrouded it wasn't flowing, and he was actually cutting holes in the bottom, and we're taking it off on the fast runs and then putting it back on it afterwards and saying that he was running it. And it's like we can't. How do we compete with that? Like we're supposed to run an ad saying so and so is doing this, and I'm talking about it now. It was like 3 years ago, and it's like. But yeah, we're here to make performance, and there's stiff competition in the B8 3.0T supercharged platform. There's stiff competition in the B9 3.0T B9 platform, and there are users that are viciously loyal to one brand or the other. But there's plenty of room for the different tuners to do their thing and be successful with it. But in the DAZA community, it's kind of nothing because it's literally like 75 cars or a couple hundred people, who are really, very, very enthusiastic about what supposedly does and doesn't work.
Yeah.
So as a result, it's like 034 is a company with a ton of engineering resources. And when we point those engineering resources at a platform, great things happen. But we have to be able to, it has to be a win for us as well. And we have put tons of engineering resources into DAZA. And it just hasn't paid off because of whatever social dynamics are going. Okay. This may piss someone off, and I'm sorry if it does. I'm in my late 40s. I don't know how much longer I'll be alive. I'm at a point in my life where I'm just going to say what I think, and that's actually working pretty well for me. Yeah. I lived for years like being afraid of what people would think if I said things. That was really shitty. So I recommend you say what you think to anyone who's listening. and see what happens. But make sure you don't think stupid, dumb things. Because if you just
Sure
go
you're
out
not
and
on
say dumb, stupid
that
things,
Dunning-Kruger curve we talked about a while back.
if you just say dumb things, then people will hold you accountable.
You should be founded in your thoughts and not off the cuff.
So it actually might be good not to say anything in that regard. So yeah, I mean, no big promises on DAZA. I'm sorry. We do have a few really loyal customers. We do have an excellent product line for DAZA. So I don't want to make it sound like we don't support DAZA. You could like Colette in Florida has done. You can build like a 10-second fire breathing smooth daily driver DAZA with our catalog from everything from intake, tune, exhaust, suspension. We have the most. I will say right now we have the most complete product line of any company on earth for DAZA. But are we going to keep investing more and more in it? We're not sure. So that's just what I'm putting out. I'm getting my B9 S. Well, here let's talk about. So
more RS talk.
Let's talk about B9 RS5 Stage 2 TCU. So there's been a little drama with RS5s, particularly around the JB4 initially when we released our tune.
Yeah, we were really surprised how much, how embedded some of the JB4 mindset was.
Let me spend a minute talking about this because I think we now know here at 034 Motorsport why that was. So we came to market with a Stage 1 91 octane tune. So even if you had a 93 octane fuel available where you live, you got a 91 octane tune from us. We were very upfront about that. We told everyone. And all the people that came and bought RS5 tuning, thank you, got a 91 octane file. We then released a 93 file like 3 weeks later. But in that 3-week period, our 91 file competing against JB4 93 was not that much faster. Okay. And it's because it wasn't a fair comparison, and it's because the 91 file runs less boost than the JB4 on 93. Once we delivered the 93 file, literally like less than a month later, then the consensus from customers was like, okay, this is way faster than JB4 and way better. So this is why there was this initial kind of pushback from the JB4 user base. And I'm here to say that that's now done. It's settled. There's no comparison. There really wasn't then, but it was because it wasn't a fair comparison. So
there's that. Yeah. And so often the driving characteristics are left out of that conversation.
Well, that's a whole other thing is yes. But I don't think anyone disputed that ours didn't drive smoother than JB4. It was kind of like, well, let's say I'm fine with the drivability of the JB4. Yours isn't really that much faster, so why am I going to go spend $1,000? And I was like, okay, that's fine. Understand. But now we have something that's way faster, way better, and that was our 93 file. If you're running 93. Now, if you're on 91, if you're in California, you're running 91, you're comparing 91 JB4 to our 91 file. Our 91 file is going to perform better because you're 91 to 90. But the 93 actually produces more power. So we're taking that a step further now with our Stage 2 2.9T TCU tune. This substantially increases the car's performance acceleration, and specifically the rev limiter in the engine is controlled by the TCU, right? So if you only do the ECU file, you're limited to the stock rev.
Well, it's sort of on these, but yeah, for like auto and shifting modes, that certainly is true.
Yeah, because I mean, I was seeing like 7,200 RPM shifts, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And so here's what you get is optimized shift points. So the factory shift points are not the fastest way to accelerate. We go in there and we optimize those shift points to ensure that when you launch or when you floor it, say in first gear, that the vehicle will accelerate as quickly as possible by shifting at the most optimal shift points. Improve shift speeds. So the factory shifts aren't as fast as they can be. So we're increasing the speed of the shift, which increases your acceleration time or decreases the time that the engine is not producing power between the shifts. There is a delay time between launches that's been reduced. This is useful when drag racing to heat up the tires using launch control and reactivate quickly before you can launch at the drag strip or wherever you're launching. Increased launch stall RPM. So we raised that for a significant increase in force, also allowing the car to get off the line faster at a higher RPM than stock. Improved torque management. So this is related to the amount of torque that so when the ZF8 shifts, the power between the shifts does not go to zero. There is some power there. And so as the power tapers off and comes back up, we're able to optimize that and increase the amount of acceleration through the shift. And then in the future, we have
we're doing even more coming up.
More torque management. We'll be adding AMAX in the higher gears, which isn't available in this tune. It'll be a free update soon after this. And so just real quick, in the results of our testing, we have now run with basically, this is a stock RS5.
Are you going to tell them?
Yeah, let's mention it. And there'll be more information coming soon. But stock RS5 with 19-inch ZTFs.
Yeah.
With
265 street tires.
265 street tires. And then our stage.
All the stuff we talked about.
Stage 1. Stage 1 plus E85 with the intercooler, stock factory cats, and a high pressure fuel pump.
Stock complete exhaust, yeah.
Stock exhaust. Stock car otherwise. We ran a 10.6 at 128 on a drag strip.
We did do some weight reduction.
A little bit of weight reduction, but like anything that anyone could do in their home at the drag strip.
20 minutes in the
It was like, what, 60 pounds or something?
Front seat and back seats. 150.
About 150 pounds with the front seat. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, big guy delivery.
Yeah. And that's freaking fast.
Yeah. 10.6 is insane on that.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, this is a very, very fast car with hardly, just very light modifications, and still factory OEM cats. So we will release more information about that. Our goal is to release the Stage 2 tune in the next few days. The Stage 2 TCU tune in the next few days. If you currently own 034 tuning, there will be a special offer for you to upgrade. Otherwise, it will be whatever the price is. I don't think we have that finalized yet. But if you currently have our Stage 1 tuning and you want more performance out of your car, you want faster 0 to 60. So we have an estimate on like the 0 to 60. I mean, it's going to make your 0 to 60 faster.
We have that data.
Yeah, we'll release. It's substantially faster with the Stage 2 TCU tune than without, just to 60, which I think most of the time
it's going to be most of your efforts.
Yeah, most people don't have the road for quarter mile stuff, but 0 to 60 stuff, that's really fun. You can do that quite often. So yeah, stay tuned, and we will be announcing that in the next few days. I'm getting my B9 S5 ready for TTE710. I ordered an APR high pressure fuel pump. Any other parts I need? I'm already Stage 2. Definitely, you're going to want an intercooler, and I would recommend an intake, our X34 intake. We're currently supporting the Wagner intercooler for that vehicle. I don't think you need anything else. Are we requiring that?
We're going to have both at release, I believe.
I really want one for both.
Yeah, so
we will offer a version.
If they're already Stage 2, there.
If they're already Stage 2, then yeah, he said he was already Stage 2. Will your high pressure fuel pump be ready for shipping when you release the Stage 2 files, or should I research getting one ready for release? Unfortunately, no. This is a part that we've been trying to get ready, but these are not easy parts to make. So, you know, we're being careful about what we recommend. We might come out with a statement saying that we don't recommend one, or we haven't tested it. But I think we will probably need to release a list of pumps that we've tested and that we don't necessarily support, but because there are competitors' products.
We were having this conversation this morning, and it's just a tricky thing to even list because now, like, we have to ensure that company that we list doesn't go and change something about their pump. Then
it's an unfortunate reality of the position we put ourselves in, so we have to take some responsibility that we weren't able to provide an official factory option from us. But we will make sure that it's clear to anyone, which fuel pump has been tested and compatible. Is there a specific part y'all made that you regret making? Can you think of one?
I didn't see that question, so I'm not prepared at all.
I mean, it'd be easy to run a report and go back and say, okay, these bottom 10% products we should have never done. But as far as,
I mean,
I think there's a lot of these early on.
Yeah, there's more. Like I was like 07K turbo kit.
We didn't technically make.
We didn't technically release that ever. It was a lot of work and a lot of design time that went into it.
So I would say, remember those high output AN exhaust manifolds we did, and like all of them cracked.
All of the fabricated ones.
Yeah, the Weldell ones. Yeah, so this was back in like 2005. We made some Weldell exhaust manifolds for the AN, and we made one and we threw it on a car and we tested it and it was fine. And then we sold like hundreds of them and we couldn't even make them.
Yeah. Well, the problem is every factory one was cracked and falling apart as well.
Yeah, the factory ones weren't holding up either.
So the i5s, like if you back in the day, if you ever heard an i5 coming, it was usually by its tick coming in first, and then you start hearing the motor.
But all of these cracked, and then we ended up repairing them, and we finally figured out a way to fix them so that after the second or third time we repaired them.
Oh man, we were welding them, machining them, heat treating them. We were doing all kinds.
And then it created a lot of animosity with customers, rightfully so. Yeah. This is how you get to where we are now, is you make all those mistakes, but if you don't learn from them,
we learn.
You got to learn. So
that's also why there's a lot of products you ask for here, and we're just like, no, it's just not worth it. Some of that stuff is just so low volume or so hard to produce in a way that's better than OEM.
I think early on there was this kind of Pollyannish idea that like, it'll be fine. I mean, we used to always joke, it'll be fine. And you're just not realistic about all the things that can go.
Yeah, and we've evolved our testing methodologies.
Now we just assume that everything's.
We assume everything's going to go wrong. Yeah. We take everything to the track as much as we can, beat the crap out of it as much as we can. We do a lot more track time now for product than we ever used to. Yeah. With multiple people driving multiple cars a day, we're on the track a lot trying to beat these out.
What are the risks of running 034 ECU with different companies' TCU tune?
That depends what TCU tune you're talking about and what ECU. That's a tough one to answer. We have no control over obviously what the TCU tunes are doing. Some platforms it's way more critical than others. The B8 stuff, I want to say good luck getting a B8 like the B8 DSG tunes.
Yeah.
Good luck getting another tune that's going to work as well. Custom tuned or not. There's a lot of inherent issues in the B8 TCU software when you start going full beans on, wound out stage 2 plus stuff.
Generally, we do not recommend running another company's TCU or ECU tune with our products. I know we sell a lot of TCU tunes that people use with other ECU tunes. Yep. But if you want the best performance, I mean, we are literally designing and engineering all this as a unit of software that works together in an optimal way.
They're very intertwined. So the way the TCU is requesting, torque actions from the ECU and the way the ECU is going to deliver and respond, they're very tightly integrated.
If $500 or $600 is that important to you, you're gonna pay for it in other ways.
Or if again we come back to the custom tuning thing, you think custom tuner XYZ is going to do a better job because you want this shift point or that shift point.
Okay, real quick. We're almost done. Why doesn't the MQB ball joint fit the TTRS? It's because the TTRS uses a cast aluminum arm that's different, and the factory TTRS ball joint slotted.
Yeah, the TT geometry is actually quite different.
It's TTs. It's not just TTRS. It's that TT chassis. We probably will not do one specific for that because it's literally like a tiny little market. And these ball joints, you can't just make like 100 of them.
Yeah, we've already got the caster and the camster and
So it could be, and we need to look into. I think we're looking into testing this, that you could swap the arms out for like GTI arms or something, which seems sad.
I gotta look because the stances. It's like Yeah,
I don't know.
There was a bunch of different ones.
And the track's wider.
The track is what I was trying to say. Anyway, yeah,
Are we out of time?
We're out of time.
Still have a lot of good questions.
Yeah, thanks for all the questions, guys.
Thank you guys for asking questions. We will keep these questions until next week, and we will jump on them. So cheers, and thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.